Clarence Hill, DLS Cowboys. Brian Costello, longtime beat writer covering New York Jets, and certainly he has a history with the new Cowboys coach, Brian Schottenheimer. You ran him out of New York, right?
we did run him out of New York, but to Schotty's defense, he's the last guy that got them to the playoffs as the offensive coordinator, so maybe we shouldn't have run him out of New York.
How surprised were you that Schotty got a job?
I was shocked, to be honest. I mean, when he was the Jets coordinator all the way back, he got fired his last season was 2011. There had been talk during their playoff runs that he might be the head coach, and obviously his father, the legacy there, and he had some interviews, but I thought those days were over, right. Following his career after he left the Jets. So I was shocked when I heard his name.
Was he a good coordinator?
Yeah, he did. It's funny. So I tell this story. I said, at the time, Jets fans really, he drove them crazy with some of the stuff he did. They lost some big games in some playoff games and some questionable calls. He had a game on Christmas Eve where they played the Giants, and Mark Sanchez threw 59 passes, right. And that drove people crazy. That was sort of the end for him. But in hindsight, he did a good job compared to what's come after him with the Jets. They have the longest playoff drought in the NFL, the longest playoff drought in North American sports. They've had a succession of bad offensive coordinator after bad offensive coordinator. When I look back at Schotty, I think what stood out to me, and maybe in hindsight, is how adaptable he was. Because he was hired by Eric Mangini. They hired him to kind of bring the San Diego system with him that they had under his father. Right. He had Chad Pennington for 2 years. Right. They ran that system. Then they get Brett Favre right in the beginning of training camp in 2008. Brett Favre's not running your system, right? You got to make the system for Brett Favre. Right. They had a top 10 offense that year. The following year, Rex Ryan comes in, ground and pound. He wants to run the ball. Right. They had the number one rushing offense in the NFL in the first year, and he kind of adapted with each step of the way, which I think is impressive because some guys get stuck in their system. And
then you follow him with Seattle, and he was part of Let Russ Cook and sort of thing. So he has been adaptable. But was he a visionary? Is he a bright offensive mind? Is he somebody the Cowboy fans should be excited about?
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, that part's tough, right? But I will say this, because the Jets just hired a coach. I hired Aaron Glenn, who played for the Cowboys, and you look at these guys, and it's like, okay, how do you know if they're going to be successful? You've covered enough coaches. You don't know what's going to work and what's not. And I looked back at the 2021 hiring cycle, right? Because it's who wins the press conference is what we always say, right? Urban Meyer was like, if you go back and read the coverage in 2021, he was a slam dunk hire. Robert Saleh was a slam dunk hire for the Jets. Nick Sirianni, people made fun of him. He's in the second Super Bowl right now. Dan Campbell, people kind of laughed at him. The Lions have the number one seed, so you never know who if these guys who are great coordinators are going to be good head coaches.
Right, in Detroit and certainly with Philadelphia, they had great GMs that help build those teams and give them talent to work with.
Well, and Jerry, there you go.
The best GM ever, Jerry Jones. So he was the best of a bad lot in New York.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, look. They went into his defense, though. They did go to the playoffs 3 times on his watch, 2 AFC Championship games. Right. The AFC Championships were with Mark Sanchez as his quarterback, right? So it wasn't like he had Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts even. Like it was Mark Sanchez. They did some things, and so he had success, but it's a long time ago. So there's a lot of track record since then you have to look at, too.
Well, thank you, man. Brian Costello, he knows Schotty. Give him a chance.